group break, 24,433. We have the 6-box break of 25-26, Upper Deck Series 1. Lane Hudson, Encore for Montreal, Sizzle Reel for Toronto of Matthew Nyes, and a Young Guns for Toronto of Jacob Quillen. Sizzle Reel Red for New Jersey of Luke Hughes, Sizzle Reel for Dallas of Wyatt Johnston, and a Portraits for Buffalo of Tage Thompson. Young Guns, Yvonne Demidov for Montreal, compositions of Stützle for Ottawa, and a Young Guns canvas of Michael Callahan for the Boston Bruins. Encore of Alex DeBrincat for Detroit, Sizzle Reel for Carolina of Sebastian Aho, and a Young Guns of Matthew Robertson for the Rangers. Oh, nice. Tracking systems for Colorado, Mackenzie Blackwood. Cup Quest for Pittsburgh of Erik Karlsson. And a Young Guns outburst for Nashville of Ozzy Weisblatz. Canvas for Tampa of Nikita Kucherov. Jacob Melanson, Young Guns for Seattle. And a Portraits for Ottawa of Linus Ullmark. Encore for Washington of Ryan Leonard, Cup Quest Speckle for Seattle of Jared McCann, and a Bustle for Florida of Sam Reinhart. Compadres for Florida of Kachuk and Barkov, Young Guns for Carolina of Skylar Brindamore, and a Compositions for Utah of Clayton Keller. Dazzlers for Minnesota of Gustafson, Canvas for Calgary of Huberdeau, Goal Oriented for Colorado of Nathan McKinnon. Black and White Canvas for Vegas of Barbashev, Encore for Utah of Logan Cooley, Compadres for Edmonton of McDavid and Draisaitl. Sizzle Reels of Kirill Marchenko for Columbus, Young Guns for San Jose of Cagnoni, and a Goal-Oriented for Vegas of Jack Eichel. Sizzle Reel Speckle of Cam Fowler for St. Louis, Canvas for San Jose of Will Smith, and a Composition for Columbus of Sean Monahan. Dazzlers for the Anaheim Ducks of Frank Vatrano, Canvas for Washington of Ovechkin, and a Dylan Holloway Portraits for St. Louis. Encore for Columbus of Adam Fantilli, Bustle for Toronto of Matthew Nyes, and a Nikita Topilo Young Guns for Vancouver. Tracking Systems Gold, numbered to 25 for Edmonton of Stuart Skinner. A Tracking Systems for Dallas of Ottinger, and a Goal-Oriented for the Rangers of Panarin. Canvas of Anders Lee for the Islanders, Colton Dock Young Guns for Chicago, and a Compositions for Buffalo of Dahlin. Encore of Kochetkov for Carolina, Composition Speckle of Larkin for Detroit, and a Bustle for Detroit of Zyder. Sizzle Reel of Evan Bouchard for Edmonton, Dalibor Dvorsky Young Guns for St. Louis, and a Cup Quest for Nashville of Yossi. Sizzle Reel Speckle of Sidney Crosby for Pittsburgh, Canvas for Minnesota of Gustafson, and a Goal-Oriented for Pittsburgh of Sidney Crosby. Encore for the Rangers of Gabe Perreault, Sizzle Reel of Luke Evangelista for Nashville, Young Guns for Vancouver of Elias Pettersson. Outburst Base of Morgan Riley for Toronto. Tracking systems for Columbus of Merzlikins. And an Artyom Levshinov portrait for Chicago. Young Guns of Ian Moore for the Anaheim Ducks. Portraits of Gabe Perreault for the Rangers. And a Nicholas Coco Young Guns for the Seattle Kraken. Clear cut base for Anaheim of Radko Gudas. Mackenzie Blackwood Encore for Colorado. And a sizzle reel of Marchment for Dallas. Bustle of Dylan Holloway for St. Louis. Skylar Brindamore Young Guns for Carolina. And a compositions for Pittsburgh of Sidney Crosby. Box 3. Encore for Philadelphia of Travis Konechny, sizzle reel of Kyle Connor for Winnipeg, and a Carson Dorwart Young Guns for Philadelphia. Oh, no, you're fun. Tracking systems for Vegas, Aiden Hill. Cup Quest for Edmonton of Zach Hyman. Fanimation for the New York Islanders of Matthew Barzal. Those are rare. Canvas for Nashville of Stamkos. Young Guns of Dalibor Dvorsky for St. Louis. Portraits for Florida of Matthew Tkachuk. Encore of Linus Ullmark for Ottawa. Lane Hudson's composition speckle for Montreal. And a Compadres for San Jose of Toffoli and Celebrini. Sizzle reel of Philip Forsberg for Nashville. Young Guns for Seattle of Yanni Nyman. And a portrait of Josh Morrissey for Winnipeg. Dazzlers for the Vancouver Canucks of Thatcher Demko. Canvas of Ross Colton for Colorado. And a Sebastian Aho compositions for Carolina. Encore for Tampa, Victor Hedman. Bustle for Ottawa, Brady Tkachuk. Ozzy Weissblatt Young Guns for Nashville. Outburst base of Philip Hronik for Vancouver. Tracking systems for Boston of Jeremy Swayman. And a compositions for Winnipeg of Kyle Connor. Canvas for Anaheim, Troy Terry. Mark Gatcomb Young Guns for the Islanders. Gold ribbon for Tampa of Braden Point. Encore blue of Dvorsky for St. Louis. Encore regular of Dvorsky for St. Louis. And a Nathan McKinnon sizzle reel for Colorado. Tracking systems of Samuel Urson for Philly. Young Guns of Ville Kovanen for Pittsburgh. And a Cup Quest for Winnipeg of Hellebuck. Compadres speckle for Vegas of Eichel and Stone. Canvas of Clayton Keller for Utah. And a Brant Clark portrait for LA. Box 4. Tracking systems for Washington of Charlie Lindgren. Cup Quest of Mitch Marner for Toronto. And a Young Guns Deluxe. Number to 250 for the Montreal Canadiens. Ivan Demidov.
So Demidov's in 6 boxes?
And one of them is a deluxe.
Woohoo!
Woohoo! Ivan Demidov, Deluxe Young Guns for Montreal. Canvas Cousins for Ottawa. Ryan Leonard, Young Guns for Washington. Portraits for Carolina of Seth Jarvis. Canvas black and white for New Jersey of Dougie Hamilton. Encore for St. Louis of Jordan Kyrou. And a bustle of Evander Kane for Edmonton. Tracking systems of Markstrom for New Jersey. Edmonton Oilers Young Guns of Quinn Hudson. And a goal-oriented for Edmonton of Draisaitl. Dazzlers for Boston of Morgan Geekie. Canvas of Owen Tippett for Philly. Compositions for Dallas of Jason Robertson. Encore of Jimmy Snuggerud for St. Louis. Bustle of Jesper Bratt for New Jersey. Young Guns of Jack Finley for Tampa. Outburst base for the Islanders, Bo Horvat. Sizzle reel of Dakota Joshua for Vancouver. And a Cup Quest for Detroit of DeBrincat. Canvas of Darcy Kemper for LA. Rodrigo Abels Young Guns for Philly. And a Zuccarello Portraits for Minnesota. Encore of Jesper Bratt for New Jersey. Noah Ostlund Portrait Speckle for Buffalo. And Leo Carlson Anaheim Ducks Sizzle Reel. Encore for Carolina of Sebastian Aho. Compadres for Montreal of Line and Slavkovsky. And a Young Guns for Chicago of Colton Dock. Tracking systems for Tampa of Vasilevsky. Sam Rinzel, Young Guns for Chicago. Dalibor Dvorsky Portraits for St. Louis. Bustle Speckle for New Jersey of Jesper Bratt. Canvas for Buffalo Owen Powers. And a Compositions of Jack Hughes for New Jersey. Oh, goodness gracious. Box 5. Canvas of Adam Lowry for Winnipeg. Gabe Perreault Young Guns for the Rangers. Compositions for the Islanders of Matthew Barzal. Encore for Florida of Sam Reinhart. Bustle for Nashville of Marchessault. Victor Ostman Young Guns for Seattle. Outburst of Adam Pellich for the Islanders. Tracking systems for the Rangers of Shesterkin. Goal-oriented for Minnesota of Kirill Kaprizov. Canvas of Dallas Jake Ottinger. Ian Moore Young Guns for Anaheim. Compositions for Boston of David Pasternak. Encore for Pittsburgh of Evgeny Malkin. Cup Quest Speckle for the Rangers of Kreider. Compadres for Washington of Ovechkin and Wilson. Encore for Vancouver of Thatcher Demko. Sizzle Reel for Pittsburgh of Crosby. Young Guns for the Islanders of Skarek. Population count 500 for Toronto of Matthew Nyes. Tracking systems of Joseph Wool for Toronto. And a Nick Suzuki Compositions for Montreal. Young Guns of Zane Perique for Calgary. Goal-oriented of Kucherov for Tampa. And a Sam Rinzel Young Guns Canvas for the Chicago Blackhawks. Sizzle Reel for Philly of Owen Tippett. Tim Wash Young Guns for Anaheim. Cup Quest for Minnesota of Kirill Kaprizov. Dazzlers for Calgary of Dustin Wolf. Canvas for Utah of Logan Cooley. Portraits for Washington of Obi. Encore Blue for Nashville of Joaquin Kamel. Encore for St. Louis of Robert Thomas. And a Matthew Tkachuk Sizzle Reel for Florida. Tracking systems for Winnipeg of Hellebuck. Young Guns for Winnipeg of Parker Ford. And a Cup Quest for Buffalo of Tage Thompson. Last box mojo. Canvas of Connor McMichael for Washington, Young Guns for Detroit of Dominic Shine, and a Portraits for Colorado of Cale Makar. Encore for Buffalo of Noah Ostlund, Austin Matthews, William Nylander, compadre for Toronto, and an Ethan Frank Young Guns for Washington. Austin Matthews, deluxe base number 250 for Toronto, sizzle reel of Arturi Lehkonen for Colorado, and a Leon Draisaitl portrait for Edmonton. Clear cut base of Igor Shinnikov for Columbus, encore for Buffalo of Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, compadres for Tampa of Kucherov and Hedman. Connor Zary, encore for Calgary, compositions of McDavid for Edmonton, Bustle for Tampa of Jake Gensel. Tracking systems for the Islanders of Sorokin, Elias Pettersson Young Guns for Vancouver, compositions for Vancouver of Quinn Hughes. Dazzlers for LA of Adrian Kempe, canvas for Chicago of Nick Foligno, goal-oriented for Florida of Sam Reinhart. Sizzle reel speckle of Leo Carlson for Anaheim, canvas of Jordan Binnington for St. Louis, and a compositions for LA of Kopitar. Encore for the Rangers of Chris Kreider, sizzle reel of Ovechkin for Washington, Young Guns for Carolina of Justin Robidas. Young Guns of Noah Ostlund for Buffalo, portraits of William Eklund for San Jose, and a Young Guns canvas, Donovan Sebrengo for the Ottawa Senators. Tracking systems for Anaheim of Lucas Dostal, Cup Quest for the Rangers of Igor Shesterkin, and a Young Guns outburst for the New York Rangers of Matthew Robertson. And last pack mojo, sizzle reel for New Jersey Luke Hughes, Jacob Gosher Young Guns for Philly, and an Austin Matthews goal-oriented for Toronto. There we go, ladies and gentlemen.